Good evening, friends, followers, subscribers, and of course Easyjetsimpilot channel members. Hope we've all had a very good Saturday so far. So first of all, I just need to apologise. Originally the title of this stream for some reason was incorrect. I thought I'd updated it, however it turned out I hadn't. So if you were expecting a VATSIM flight to Warsaw, you're sadly going to be disappointed. However, instead we've got something that is arguably a little bit better. We've got a new fly-by-wire test flight for you this evening, and something that again, with many other features that I know are coming up, but something I've been looking forward to, and that is a new refueling system that's now been introduced on the electronic flight bag or tablet. So looking forward to checking that out. One of the other things that it does as well is it refuels the aircraft slowly, as it should be correctly, around 1,000 tons a minute. So if we've got a lot of fuel to load, that's a realistic loading time, so that's nice. However, there is the feature, just like the IRS alignment, you can actually choose it to be instant, you can choose to be a little bit quicker than normal, or you can set it to be realistic. So we're going to go ahead and have a look at that. So the flight tonight is from Portland down to Washington DC. I like to do something a little bit different when we're doing these test flights for fly-by-wire rather than flying around Europe, so it's great to see the world through Microsoft Flight Simulator. But yeah, hopefully guys, you can just confirm for me that the stream label and title is now correct. Apologies for that. I need to look into why that didn't work as planned, but hopefully that's all updated for you. So if I just bring out the Navigraph charts before we enter the flight deck, this is our route tonight. So as I say, from Portland down the east coast of the USA and into Washington DC. So we'll look forward to doing this tonight, and of course enjoying the scenery below. So let's get into the flight deck, shall we? Okay, well, to me that jetway doesn't look to be rendered in the in the correct place. Nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. This isn't a custom build airport or anything like that. This is just Microsoft's default American Portland. So before we go any further, we need to obtain the ATIS, or at least the METAR. I'm not flying online, so no ATIS. But let's just have a look at the METAR here. In fact, you know what? I can probably get that now from the tablet, can't I? Let's turn that on. Of course, the tablet works independent from the aircraft's power, which is really nice. So that's good. So there we go. That's now just coming to life, and we can have a look. Just make sure that's linked. Easyjetsimpilot dashboard. And link from SimBrief, so that's there. Fantastic. Noah B, thank you very much coming in with the $2 donation. Thank you very, very much, sir, for supporting the channel. Grab yourself something from the drinks cart and take a left when you come on board and enter first class, my friend. Thank you very much for that. So here, the weather we have at Portland currently at the moment, wind 290 at 7, so we're departing runway 29, 1028 millibars. Of course, I don't know why it displays millibars on here. I would imagine you can actually set that at some point. There will be some settings. I know I have seen fly-by-wire are working on this, so obviously that will update. We're obviously in America, so we want to not be working in millibars at this point, so that will update. We're just generally having a look. We're also gusting at 17 knots, a little bit gusty today. 10 miles visibility, so don't need to worry about that. We've actually got there the proper barometric reading for America is 3037, so that's quite nice. All right, so that's the METAR information obtained. We now know we're departing runway 29. Let's go ahead and start powering up the aircraft. I'm then going to call some ground services, which of course I can now do on the tablet just here. And we're going to start having a look at the refueling page. So if I just show this to you very quickly, dispatch. There's the operational flight plan that we have, and then if I go to the refueling page, this is now showing. Now, one of the things that I would like to see, but I don't think Fly-by-Wire have control of this just yet, is whenever you load into the aircraft, I'm not sure if you've seen this, then every time you load into the aircraft, we always load in with around 9.5 tons. Well, if an aircraft landed with 9.5 tons on board, that would be very poor fuel resource management. Unless, of course, they were tankering for the return leg. But we'd normally like to see around 2 tons of fuel on board. And, of course, the aircraft is then much lighter for landing as well. So, not sure if Fly-by-Wire can do anything about that. What you can do, of course, I think you can actually offload fuel. So there we go. We can actually offload the fuel like so. Or, if I just put that back to roughly around where it was, you can see the estimated time to complete is also changing. This is now something that we will never ever need to touch, but I can just reduce that. So that tells us we're now completely empty, and I would imagine that is now going to reflect that as you can see. So we've now not got much fuel on at all. I'm now going to power up the aircraft, and we'll start going through some flows. We'll call the ground carts over, we'll get the jetway connected, and we'll start getting passengers on board as well. So let me turn on those batteries. There we go. Batteries are on. Let's get the ground power to us. So ground power unit is that now on its way? There it is, look. I'm going to be very interested to see where that jetway, or how that jetway connects in a moment without destroying the fly deck. That should be interesting. Okay, so external power is now coming. Let's get that connected up. Beautiful. So we can get the crew supply on. We can get the idiots starting to align. Turn those nav lights on. Seatbelt signs, leave those off as we're going to refuel. We don't want seatbelt signs on when refueling. I've spoke about this before. If your passengers are getting on, they strap themselves in, and suddenly a fire breaks out during refueling, the last thing you want is your passengers to be strapped in. So we leave that off for now. We can arm the emergency lights, and we can also leave the fuel pumps on. Sorry, leave the fuel pumps off so the lights are showing on. Again, we don't turn the fuel pumps on until refueling has finished. So then, let me see if I can call this jetway over. Let's see what this looks like. How is this going to work? Oh, I think he's going the wrong way. Is he just going to dissect the aircraft now? That'll be a shame. Oh, there he comes. Oh no, is that where the jetway's staying for the for the entire time? That's ridiculous. I can't do any setup at all with that. Oh, we're going to get rid of that. That's awful. Right, let me get rid of the jetway. I could have picked any parking stand here for this flight, couldn't I? I clearly have picked the wrong one. Look at that. So he's actually gone and connected itself on the right hand side, and we can't see a thing. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Goodbye, jetway. Disappear. I don't want you there anymore. I'm trying to get rid of that. There we are. Okay, now I've actually got rid of that. We can get on early. Unfortunately, that means that you guys, the passengers, are just going to have to jump on board from somewhere down there. Yeah, that's not working, is it? Alright, never mind. Right, well, let's start getting our passengers on board the old-fashioned way with some sort of stair ramp, shall we? Because that's not working.
Cabin crew, we can open the doors now and start letting them on board. Thanks very much.
Okay, no problem.
Good evening, Fly-by-Wire Simulation. It's always great to have you on board, particularly for a test flight as well. Yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator doing a fantastic job with the passenger loading. We'll get rid of that and make you guys have to jump up. Right, so I am going to open the doors just now, which I think I can just do on the tablet. Let's get those open. Oh no, I've actually called the, I think I've called the jetway again. I've called the jetway, I don't want the jetway. There we go, sent that back. Right, let's just get the door open. So forward door's coming open. That's it, passengers can now get on board. We'll call the baggage, and we can also call some catering. We want first class service all the way down for our Fly-by-Wire's test flight. Now, you can see we've got a little refueling truck here. Now, what will be really great is when we can actually use this. I'm not going to use this now, just because when you call the refueling truck, then when that arrives, the fueling window will open up, but we don't want to touch this. We don't want to touch this anymore. Fly-by-Wire have got this all sorted for us. So, the problem would be, as soon as we close that window, the refueling truck instantly disappears. Now I know Fly-by-Wire are also currently working on making this new refueling page hold the fueling truck there until the entire refueling has been done. So that's something I'm just going to skip over for now, actually calling the refueling truck. So let's have a little look at getting the rest of our flight cockpit preparations complete. What I am going to do now is, because we're going to have a realistic refueling time, I'm just going to bring over our operational flight plan. So today we need around 5 tons of fuel. What I'm also going to do is come down here, just see what the weather's looking like in Washington for when we arrive. So there's our destination, Ronald Reagan Washington International Airport. We've got a few clouds at flight level 250, 10 miles visibility, 0 wind. So I'm not anticipating that I'm going to need to take any extra fuel. I'm happy to take that 5 tons that the operational flight plan has given us. So let's key that in and let's start to get that loaded up. So I'm going to use the right Alt key just to pop that out. And what I'm going to do now is type in here that we want. Hang on, if I can just zoom in there for you so you can see. So I want 5 tons of fuel, 5004 to be exact, if I'm going to load it correctly. Now you can see that's telling me estimated 1 minute. Well, that's not right, but that is because I've got fast set down here, so we can do it instantly. So obviously estimation 0 minutes, and then if we select real, now that's great because it should be about 1 ton per minute, and we're loading 5 tons of fuel. It's in 6-7 minutes. Brilliant. Okay, so now let's start that. There you go. We're currently in the process of refueling, so we should start to see these figures increase, and that's what I'm just going to watch for in a minute before I carry on with the cockpit setup. So you can see that should be done in 6 minutes, and there we go. I've just seen the right outer tank starting to increase. The left outer tank is starting to increase as well. Now the other thing that I want to come across and check now is if I just turn up the ECAM displays, I want to check the gross weight of the aircraft just here. So I'm expected to see this starting to climb as well. So let's just check. We've got 50.6 tons at the moment. That should come up in a minute. There we go, 50.7. So the aircraft obviously gaining weight as it should do. That's really nice to see that it all is growing gradually. Alright, so whilst our passengers are boarding and our fueling is being redone, I'm now going to carry on with my cockpit preparation. So let's have a look. We can now do our fire tests. So engine 1, engine 2, and of course the APU. And I'll wait to start the APU until refueling has done as well. So let's come down and carry on setting up the flight decks. So come to the center instrument panels. There we go. And the Q&H here was, what was it? I'll get it off here, our dashboard. It is 1028 or 3037 if we're going to be correct here in the USA. 3037. Let's turn that up. 3037. Lovely. Nice high pressure today. That's good. And just making a note of that as well. Alright, so with that we can check. We've obviously got real world time going on as well for this flight, which is nice to do it in the real world and real live weather. The anti-skid is on, so we're going to come down to the pedestal, check everything looks as it should do here. VHF2, we're going to set the guard frequency 121.5. And yeah, Toga makes you think how long the heavies must have to wait to complete all their refueling, given the thousands of tons that they need on board. Okay, so audio control panel is all set. Cockpit door is still currently open. We've not finished chatting with the cabin crew just yet. Everything there looks as it should, so we can now come up, have a look at the glare shield and start setting this. So again, we're not in hectopascals. Let's flip that over, set the Q&H 3037, and we'll just turn the brightness up as well on the FCU. Flight directors 1 and 2 coming on, and just set the range as well on here. So main instrument panels, let's turn up the brightness, and we'll turn down the first officer displays. IRS alignment, it's just finished, so GPS primary is now showing. Great stuff. That means if I just turn up down here, we can just go to the data page, check the aircraft status, and our nav database is still in date. That's good. We can also check our IRS, make sure we've got 3 nav green. Wonderful. Alright, so now we're going to come in and actually pull the information through from SimBrief, ready to upload it. So ATSU AOC init press, init data request, and there we can see, and have a look here, that's the current fuel on board at the time that I pressed that. You can see that actually just increased from 2.2 to 2.1. Sorry, 2.1 to 2.2. So yeah, that's going up. Estimated flight time today is 1 hour 15 minutes. So looking forward to spending that time with you on board. Let's go back to the AOC menu and start looking at performance, weights and balance pages. And again, we no longer need to rely on our operational flight plan in a web browser, which I do have, as you can see. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that into the chat. So if any of you do prefer to have that downloaded and open next to you, I can sort that out for you. There it is. So that's now in the chat for you to use as and when you need it. But what I can do now, of course, is we can come over to the FlyPad tablet, onto the dispatch page, operational flight plan, and here it all is. So let me just zoom in so we can read that a little bit more, and let's start checking things are as they should be. So block fuel, I'm not going to touch this now. I'm not going to load that in because we're actually loading that in through the FlyPad, so I'm going to ignore that. But obviously the block fuel, taxi fuel, trip fuel is as it should be, and we're going to move on to page 2 and check our payload. 178 passengers, a payload of 18512. Check that, 18512, that is correct, and a zero fuel weight of 59.5. 59.5, spot on. So we can now pop the payload, and that actually loads into the aircraft instantly. So you can see now we're at 62.4 tons. And if I look at our takeoff weight is said to be 64.3. So we're obviously still refueling, which is why our takeoff weight at the moment is actually below the current weight of the aircraft. So that's understandable. And if we go back to our fuel page, we'll see that that is still currently loading. 3 minutes to go. All right, so that's nice. That's now loaded in. We can come off there. All right, so let's go to our init A page and let's start looking at loading that in. So let's uplink information from SimBrief into the FMGS. Fly-by-wire flight 5401. No alternate yet coded in. That's fine. We're going to pop that in a moment. So let's have a look. I'm aware, of course, while setting the aircraft up, I ignore the chat a little bit because it's obviously concentrating on setting up. Mike, really cool feature, but why not work on VNAV, top of climb, top of descent before small features like this? Well, realistically, the top of descent, top of climb, and VNAV isn't as important as everybody thinks it is. You as a pilot can work out your own top of descent, or should be able to, and you've got the constraints already in there as shown on the flight nav page, on the flight plan page. So again, you can adhere to those constraints. So VNAV really isn't as important as we think, and I know so many people, so many people are telling us all the time they want VNAV, and all VNAV will do is make us very lazy pilots, because we'll be at 36,000 feet, we know we want to be at 3,000 feet at a particular waypoint, adhering to certain constraints, and you'll roll the autopilot altitude bug down to 3,000 feet, engage manage mode, and then go to sleep while the aircraft descends. It's how it is done in the real world, of course, but all the time a pilot is constantly monitoring that descent. Plus which, if you've got air traffic control online, then air traffic control are not going to tell you to do something like that. They will probably give you step down climbs, step down descents, which VNAV isn't too much use for. All VNAV does is gives you the best rate of descent for your speed, to make sure you're at a specific target by a certain speed. But again, you can work that out. Anyway, I digress. So the alternate, where is our alternate today? Got some frame rate issues just there while things are loading in. The alternate today is that Pittsburgh? I'm useless with my Americanisms. Kilo Papa India Tango. Kilo Papa India Tango. Pop that in. Cost index of 5. Wow, we're trying to save fly-by-wire money today, aren't we? Cost index of 5, that's correct. Noah B, VNAV works on the CRJ, so it's possible. Yes, of course, it does work on the CRJ. It certainly is possible. It will come. Right, flight level 360 minus 51 degrees. Double check that. Flight level 36. Did I say 310? Then let me double check that. 360 minus 57. 360 minus 57. So let's update that. Minus 57. There we go. Just clear that. There we are. Okay, so that's init A all sorted. Our adheres position, we would check that, make sure that matches up against the charts. And then we're going to have a look at our flight plan. J-Hog, congrats on the 8th. Oh yes, thank you very much. We've passed 8,000 subscribers, I think, late last night, which is absolutely fantastic. So big thank you to each and every one of you. 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, so really big thank you for that. Right, where were we? Flight plan. We've just heard the cabin crew alerting me to the fact that all our passengers are now on board, so that's good. So let's have a look at our departure. So let's have a look. Open our chart list. In fact, we don't need to open the chart list. I've already got them pinned down here. So we're going to be departing runway 29 today, and we are taking the Newbill 4 departure route. So let's pop that in. Departure runway 29 and the Newbill 4 departure. We've then got a transition. So where would the transition be from? Which one? Let's have a look. It might not be on there. Is it Nelly that we're going to? There we go. Yep, Nelly. So let's pop that in. And we can just see that on our flight plan up here. I would imagine it is also shown, of course, on the operational flight plan. Yep, just there. So Thunewal 4 to Nelly. So that's shown there. Alright. No, the cost index is wrong. Are you certain? The cost index was 5, and the cost index here on the operational flight plan is also 5. So I see that as being correct. Alright, so let's insert that. Okay, and then our arrival then into Washington is the Clipper 2 arrival onto runway 01. And again, we can just show that. I could probably have just shown that here on the operational flight plan. So it's the Clipper 2 arrival onto Washington runway 01. So let's pop that in. Arrival ILS runway 01. Again, not the longest runway in the world, is it? And it is the Clipper 2 arrival. No veers. Excellent. So let's get that inserted there. Beautiful. Transition. Do we have a transition for there? We can have a look on our charts. Do we have a transition at the other end? ILS 01. Kitron is the initial approach fix. Is that one of the options here? If not, we've just got Mike X-Ray Echo. Can we see that on here? Mike X-Ray Echo. That's the one. There we go. So let's insert that. In fact, it's already inserted automatically for us. So let's go ahead and insert. Okay, so it's got a distance of 442. And we can cross-reference that 400 and does that say 484? So there's a bit of difference there. In fact, there's quite a bit of difference there, about 40 miles or so. However, for the simulator, that's fine. If it was over 100 miles, I'd think I'd really programmed that wrong. But what I will do is we'll have a look at that on the navigation display in a moment and make sure. So let's come down to our RadNav page. Is there anything that we need to put into the RadNav page for our departure? Let's have a look. So I don't think there's anything really that we need. We've not got any VORs to use, so I'm happy to leave the RadNav page blank for this one. Classy Frog 7 on Twitch. Thank you very much, sir, for the follow. I appreciate that. Our ILS frequency for the departure is coded in. In fact, I'm just checking. That is the departure, isn't it? Yeah, that's the departure ILS, so that's coded in quite nicely. Let's have a look then at our takeoff performance page. So, the transition altitude here in USA is, of course, always 18,000 feet. I was flicking through the airport pages for this. The noise abatement procedures of this airport, you actually need to contact the airport directly. Well, I don't think they'd be too impressed if I rang them up just to ask about my flight simulator experience. So I'm just going to leave that as a normal noise abatement departure number 2, which is thrust reduction and acceleration at 1,050 feet. What I can check, of course, is the elevation, which is 42 feet. So if we had 1,000 feet for that, we could change it to 1,042 feet. But realistically, it's only 8 feet off. That's not going to make any difference to us. So our flaps, we're going to do flaps 1. Well, actually, interestingly enough, just have a look at the length of the runway. The length of the runway is 2,195 meters. Now, is that actual usable length? Let's check. We can check that because it's not always the actual length that we can use. So we're going to have a look at our information. Here we go. So, additional runway information. We want for takeoff. Where have we got the distances on here? I'm not familiar with how Jepson charts for America is normally used. So these are the additional runways information. Runway 29, they're the landing lengths, and width 46. So tell you what we'll do, we can actually compare that, and we need to come here anyway. If we come up to our takeoff performance calculator page, which is great, let's pop in the ICAO code, which is Kilo Papa Whiskey Mike, get the current METAR, which we can see down there. Nice weather. So our takeoff weight for the flight today, actual takeoff weight is 64316. Let's just copy that, pop that in here. We are going to be taking off from runway 29 using the full length. We've got 2,195. So if I just double check that, 2,195. Ah, so fair enough. It is actually, we've got the full distance. There's no displaced thresholds or anything like that. So that's fine. Packs will be off. Anti-ice will be off. Runway is dry. So let's calculate that. And we can use a flex temp for our takeoff of 61 degrees. So we can code that in now to the flight management computer. So flaps 1. I did wonder if it was going to tell me we had to use flaps 3 because it is a short runway, but we should be able to get up in the air, no problem. Then it tells us. So flaps 1, 61 degrees. There we go. And let's now calculate excuse me, let's calculate the V speed. So V2 136, VR 132, and V1 131. Good evening, Christian. No CRJ today. God no, I ain't got time for that. I'd be till midnight. To be fair, I have had to play with it offline, and it really isn't as complicated as that manual made out. Whether I've been doing it properly is debatable. Anyway, no, back in the Airbus. I'm back at home. This is where I am. Okay, so our takeoff performance is now done and complete. So let's have a look at our departure briefing then. In order to do that, let's bring up the charts. So we are parked here at the terminal apron. We're going to push back. We're going to taxi via Alpha, crossing runway 36, and then hold short runway 29. We're then going to depart from runway 29, and then from there we can see we're basically just following to the first waypoint, which is Gorham, and then Newbill, and we're on our way. Now, other things we need to be aware of for this departure: we've got takeoff obstacles. There's a few trees, I think, at the end of the runway, so hopefully we'll not hit those. Initial climb is climb on the heading of 288 to intercept the 288 to Gorham, then on the depleted route to Newbill. From Newbill, maintain 3,000 feet or as assigned by air traffic control. 5,000 feet when tower is closed. Contact Boston Center. Expect clearance to filed altitude 5 minutes after departure. Well, that's fine. So what we're going to do is, if the tower's closed, we'll pretend it's closed. We've not got any air traffic control, so we'll do our altitude up to 5,000 feet. In fact, the top altitude really is 3,000 feet, that is until passing Newbill. So 3,000 feet is the stop climb. Once we've passed Newbill, we can, although that is a long way away, that's about 25 miles away, isn't it? So what we may do in reality is we'll climb to 3,000 feet, then we'll continue to climb much higher. Let's just pretend air traffic control have given us clearance to climb above 3,000 feet, which I'm sure they would do if we were flying on VATSIM or something like that. Okay, so that's our departure. Now what I want to do is check that our departure actually looks like this on our navigation display. Make sure that's coded correctly. So if I have a look at the flight plan, we can see we've got a USR point because we decide when we're making that turn. That's what the USR point means. Then we've got Gorham, Newbill, and Rubella. Rubella? Bella? Wow, okay. I love the waypoint names that the Americans give. Okay, so with that, let's just check to see how the flight plan looks on the navigation display. We'll get the doors closed and we'll start getting ready to push back. Now we've done our departure briefing, so I'm just going to turn that to map, and zoom out a little bit. There we go. That looks exactly as it should do as well. I can turn the constraints on and see what that flags up. Absolutely nothing, so I'm going to leave those turned off for that. Okay, so we've got our departure clearance. Let's start tidying the aircraft up, then we'll run the before start checklist. So, passengers are on board. Let's get the doors closed. Doors are closing. Everybody is happy. That jetway is still well in the way, but I believe the air hostess will now come and tell us what I want to do. Oh, hang on.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, I'm also going to check now the fuel on board, make sure we've actually got the fuel that we wanted, and indeed we have. So I'm now going to start the APU, give that 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, get that started. Seatbelt signs can now come on here in the aircraft, and we can also turn on the fuel pumps. So I'm now just monitoring the APU, and whilst we're waiting for that to start, let's get those doors armed and closed, and we'll welcome everybody on board for this evening's flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and on behalf of Easyjet, let me welcome you on board your flight. We're just doing our final checks here in the flight deck whilst the cabin crew secure the aircraft, and we'll be ready to push back soon. Please get yourself comfortable with your seatbelts securely fastened and give the cabin crew your full attention during the safety briefing. Thank you for flying with us today, and we'll give you an update from the flight deck once we're airborne.
Okay, so it looks like the baggage is all loaded, and just waiting for that APU. Let's have a quick look outside. And, oh wow, that tug's not going to be much use when it's got a jetway stuck through the centre of it. So there's our pushback onto this taxiway here. We taxi all the way across that runway, and we'll hold short just there. So nice short taxi today. It won't be a single engine taxi, dual engine taxi. And what a beautiful day. What a beautiful day. No, with regards to the waypoint names, one of my favourites happens to be the one into Orlando, Disney. Is it something like the Goofy Arrival, something like that? I find that quite amusing. Okay, so that APU shouldn't be too far away from being ready. So that APU is available. We'll get the bleed air on. So bleed air is now running, APU is running. We'll get the external power off. We'll tell the external power that he can now disconnect and disappear. There he goes. Okay, so our before start checklist. Our cockpit preparations are now all complete. The signs are on and auto. The ideas are aligned. We've confirmed 3 now green already. Fuel quantity, we've checked that is loaded. I will just see how that's balanced up as well. And I'm going to check this here on the flypad as well, as that's what we're effectively testing on this flight. So let me have a look on the fuel page. 690, 690, 1818. So that's balanced. Let's check over here. 680, 680, 1818. That's perfect. Let's close the fuel page down. Flight management guidance system is all coded in correctly and working. And our altimeter is set 3037. I'll just check over here, make sure that hasn't changed. Let's have a look. 3037. Lovely. Well, the wind also seems to have dropped as well. 250 at 6 knots. Yeah, you're glad I'm flying the A320 again. Yes, so am I. I know what I'm doing now. Unlike the other night. Just before I do push back, I'm going to get our centre of gravity. In fact, that is a very good point. I've missed a page. Init B. The Init B page wasn't filed. I don't know why we didn't do that, but our zero fuel weight as shown on here. Operational flight plan. Zero fuel weight is 59.5. Let's put that in. 59.5, and zero fuel weight center of gravity is 30.0, and we're just going to adjust that now. So the empty Centre of gravity 39.0. There we go. That's just changed our actual centre of gravity with everything loaded into 31.2. Sorry, correction, 32. Dead on. Close that window down. So the trip wind for the flight today is a slight headwind of 7. H7. Pop that in. Fuel planning page. I'm really hoping this says about 5 tons now or below, otherwise I've got a problem. Oh, 5 tons. Bang on. Let's confirm that block fuel. And a takeoff weight of 64.4. I think that's what we've worked towards in our takeoff performance, isn't it? 64. Actually 64.4. We've got 64.3 here, so we do need to edit that. 64.4. Let's calculate it, see if the flex temp changes. It does change, so we're now flexing to 62 degrees, which means I need to go back into the performance page and change that to 62. There we go. Don't know why we didn't do the EFB page. That was a shame. Good evening, Chris. Good to see you as well, my friend. All right, so that's now all set. I say the altimeter is now done. So we've done our departure briefing. If we have a problem with the aircraft, we're under the maximum landing weight, so we can look to come back here. Weather is absolutely beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. No threats to be aware of. The initial climb out altitude is 3,000 feet. Minimum safe altitude around the airport, in case we did have an issue, is 3,600 feet, which is interesting. Minimum safe altitude is actually lower than the initial stop climb altitude, but that's fine. Air traffic control would, in real world, probably tell us just to get going. Okay, so with that, I think we're about ready to push back. So let's run the before start checklist below the line. Windows and doors are closed and armed. Let's get that rotating beacon light turned on. And parking brake is currently set. Tug driver is now on his way. He's going to have to negotiate this very poor jetway parking, isn't he? Tim, the empty centre of gravity would default to what is set in the OFP. The OFP doesn't give a complete empty centre of gravity. What it gives you is the zero fuel weight centre of gravity. The zero fuel weight centre of gravity, remember, still has all the passengers on board, the pilots, all the cargo, luggage, etc. It has absolutely everything except the fuel. So it's the zero fuel weight centre of gravity that you've got in the OFP, not a complete centre of gravity. Which, if you look up here, it's that you're changing. It's the empty centre of gravity position. Okay, so we're about ready to push back. APU bleed is on. Let's disconnect the external power. Don't know why that was still showing connected, actually. Oh, it wasn't. Silly me. There we go. It's disconnected. He shouldn't even be there. We've sent him away. Right, so let's start the push. Releasing the parking brakes. And back we go. He set us off with a jolt, didn't he? Probably because he's annoyed that that jetway just trampled him. Okay, so let's start the engines. Engine mode selected to ignition and starting engine 1.
Ladies and gentlemen and channel members, on behalf of the crew I ask that you please direct your attention to the monitors as we review the emergency procedures. There are 6 emergency exits on this A320neo. Please take a minute to locate the one closest to you and note that it may be behind you. Count the number of rows to the exit. Should the cabin experience pressure loss, stay calm and listen for instructions from the cabin crew. Oxygen masks will drop down from above your seat. Place the mask over your mouth and nose like this, and pull the strap to tighten it. If you are traveling with children, make sure you put your own mask on first before helping others. In the unlikely event of an emergency landing and evacuation, leave your carry-on luggage and items behind. Life rafts are located below your seats, and emergency lighting in the floors will lead you to the closest exit. We ask that you make sure that all carry-on luggage is stowed away safely during the flight. While we wait for takeoff, please take a moment to review the safety procedures on the card in the pocket in front of you. Electronic device must now be switched off or turned to airplane mode until we instruct you that it is again safe to use them. Our cabin service will commence once we are in flight. If you are a frequent flyer with us, you can now join the channel as a member and obtain extra perks to make your journey with us more enjoyable. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you enjoy the flight.
Christian, so since we started using Streamlabs, we've got a weird clicking sound in the back. Yeah, that's not the music from Self-Loading Cargo, is it? I don't know, I'm going to check that out. I have no idea what it is that's causing that. I just open up the audio box in here. How's our pushback driver doing today? Oh, spot on. That looks pretty good. Pushback complete, and set the parking brake. Okay, so parking brake is set, and engine 1 and 2 both stabilized. So engine mode select to norm. Let's lock that flight deck door. APU bleed can come off, anti-ice not required, APU master can come off ground, spoilers armed, flaps 1, and our pitch trim check to 32, and just double check that rudder as well. Okay, so the after start checklist, anti-ice is off, ECAM status is checked, pitch trim 32, rudder trim 0. Let's send the pushback tug to go and get his dinner. There he goes. We'll wait for him to move out of the way. Dark Fury, good evening. Okay, off he goes. Our pushback tug is now clear, so we know where we're taxiing. Essentially, we're going straight ahead, crossing the runway, and holding at the end of runway 29. So there's our taxi clearance. Let's get the taxi light on, and we can do a quick check on the flight controls. So watching the lower ECAM, full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral. And the rudder, full right, full left, neutral. Again, you can see by the speed that these control surfaces are moving that we are on the developer version, not the custom fly-by-wire build, which makes it a little bit more difficult to control the aircraft. So I need to be aware of that. I should probably have briefed that in my departure briefing when talking about any problems with the aircraft, but that's fine. Okay, so let's release the parking brake. While I'm down here, turn those weather radars on. Ooh, the transponder should have been set to auto as well. Let's start moving. We'll then ding the cabin crew as we get a little bit closer. Okay, off we go. Let's ding the cabin crew. TO config. Okay, so the before takeoff checklist to the line. Flight controls are confirmed, and with regards to our departure briefing, we know we basically take off, and then when happy we'll make that left turn. Stop climb altitude is 3,000 feet. No change to our performance. The departure matches what we have in the FMGC. So all is good there. We would probably have needed to contact the tower and make sure we can cross that runway before before just piling straight across it. But I know there's no other aircraft in the simulator. Not for a test flight. We don't do test flight with air traffic control or VATSIM, just in case something goes wrong, as we have seen it happen before, haven't we? Okay, FMA takeoff data. We've got flaps 1 config and 131 blue, 136 magenta, climb nav blue, 5,000 feet. That's wrong, should be 3,000 feet we said, didn't we? So confirm that. 3,000 feet, 1 FD2, and it's a flex temp takeoff of 62 degrees. Transponder is set, ECAM memo takeoff no blue, and the electronic flight bag is stowed. So as we come down, we'll check our brake temperatures in a moment. Oh, that's interesting. That should have reverted back to the wheel page. That normally happens. Not sure why it hasn't. So 90 degrees on the brake temps. That's fine. But yeah, normally that page would be showing during takeoff, and I'm sure it has done in previous incarnations. So I'm not sure why that hasn't done just there. And actually, now I've turned that off, it has remained on the wheel page, so fair enough, maybe just a little glitch. So our takeoff lineup clearance will be given that. There's no one in the way, as we've already said. Let's get the lights on. So strobe lights coming on, landing lights, turn off lights, and nose lights. We can turn the packs off. TCAS, TARA, tilt above, and transponder is on. Packs off, anti-ice is also off. We're now ready to line up. Oh, I will just secure the cabin as well on self-loading cargo, otherwise they'll get annoyed with me.
Cabin crew seats for takeoff, please.
Christian, is it just a turnaround? No. I was using quite a bit of braking during that taxi, to be fair. So cabin is secured for takeoff, engine mode select norm, TCAS is TARA, tilt above, packs are off, and anti-ice is off. So we're about to get ready to roll. Okay, and we can go straight for it. So start the chrono, 50% N1. And set takeoff thrust. Man flex, SRS and runway, that's 80 knots. Side stick coming back to neutral. 100 knots. V1 and rotate.
Right, gear up.
15 degrees pitch. Gears coming up. There's no speed restrictions as well with this departure, which is fine. So set climb thrust, climb and nav. We can lower that nose a little bit to continue the positive speed trend. So hold that at 10 degrees. This is where the fly-by-wire custom build works far better. It does hold things much better. Okay, we're now going to start lowering the nose just to level off at 3,000 feet. And passing S speed. So flaps 0, ground spoilers now disarmed. Let's get those packs back on as well. They should have come on a bit sooner as we set climb thrust, but a bit difficult to do that as a single crew pilot. We can now start to make that left turn. Engines rolling back to target 250 knots. So now with no air traffic control online, let's say air traffic control are giving us clearance up to altitude 15,000 feet. So we can let the aircraft start to finish that rollout and begin to climb. Climb thrust, climb nav, 15,000 feet set, and I'm now going to turn on autopilot 1. So the aircraft should now start to climb away. Engine power is increasing to assist with the climb thrust. And away we go. I'm happy now to release the cabin crew. We've got no poor weather ahead of us. Let's get cabin crew released. And it won't be long before they're around with the drinks. So, apologies if I've missed any questions or anything like that in the chat. I will come back and concentrate more on the chat. Now we are airborne and autopilot is on. Right, so you guys talking about the packs. Yeah, so it just gives a little bit more power to the engines. Of course, if you're departing from an airport which is really high altitude, we don't want to turn packs off because you still want that cabin to be pressurised nice and early. So what you tend to do is you take off with the APU still on and APU bleed still on. That would then take care of pressurising the engines whilst the engines are free to work on the climb and engine power. So we are about to pass 10,000 feet, which means now we can get those landing lights off. And with the lack of nasty weather ahead of us, or anything that I'm going to be concerned about with regards to causing a bit of turbulence, it's time to release the passengers. Release them. Sounds like I'm kicking them off, doesn't it? So you guys are now free to move about the cabin and find the baby milk bottle warmers. Actually, Dark, even with the amount of kids we had in this house, we've never had them. That's testimony to my wife. Dark, have I missed something? You've not recently become a father, have you? If so, congratulations. If you'd have done that 12 months ago, you would never have been bored during lockdown. That's a fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve a selection of alcoholic drinks including wine and locally sourced ales. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. If you would like to upgrade to premium brands, super stickers and super chats are available. If you are a frequent flyer with us, You can now join the channel as a member and get extra perks to make your journey with us more enjoyable. Thank you.
So now we're just monitoring the aircraft through the cruise. And we're going up to an altitude of 15,000 feet. So with that in mind, let's just check the progress page. We're going up to flight level 360, the optimum is 390, and that's also our max, so we're happy to clear the aircraft up to flight level 360. And standard pressure 360, flight level confirmed, still on climb thrust, climb, and up we go. Oh, Doc, that's great news. You've had your second child born yesterday. Oh, I hope all is well. I'm so surprised you're on here. Understandably, of course. You're not. May not be flying with us for a while. Oh, but just think of all the YouTube videos you can watch during the late nights while walking around with them, trying to get them to sleep. That is excellent news. Well done, my friend. Not sure why people congratulate the father. Presumably their effort was minimal. Alienware18 from Romania, great to see you. Do I know when the Navigraph charts will be available on the FlyPlat? I know they're in talks and they're in discussion and it is coming, but like all good things, they come to those who wait. But it is on its way. Leo Ferdinand, in VATSIM, the RX flashes, you can talk to air traffic control, but I can't hear them. They can hear you. I've had this happen before. When that does happen, you have to close the entire vPilot client down. It's no good just disconnecting and reconnecting. You have to close the entire thing down. Then go into your settings, turn off the setting which makes it sound like you're having a real VFR transmission. I forget what it's called, but it's in the audio settings, and leave that turned off if you are having issues. Fly-by-wire, you showed previews of that in the latest episode of The Hangar a few hours ago. Oh, that's great to know. So the charts are coming, they are close. Fantastic. Dark is asleep at the moment, but he'll be watching the vids with you. Can't miss Mileage Monday. No, absolutely not. Let's get him on board his first long-haul flight on Monday. Where do you want to go, Dark? Where do you want to take him to see? Leo Ferdinand, so there is a setting in vPilot. Can anyone remember what it's called? It's in the audio settings. There's a setting which makes it sound like the transmissions you're hearing are have actually got VHF degradation involved in them. If you turn that off, it does help, but I do forget what that setting is actually called. So just passing flight level 230 now. Frame rates have come back up again, so that's nice to see. Dark, you want us to take you somewhere sunny on Monday? No problem. I'll think of somewhere. He's a newborn baby though, so he doesn't want to be anywhere too warm, does it? There's the eastern coast of the USA. Dark and Nick, there you go. That's the answer for you, my friend Leo. Disable realistic ATC audio effects. That's the one. Turn those off and restart your vPilot client. Hopefully that should work. Yeah, that's right, it's in vPilot. So today, guys, for the first time in a while, I'm actually back streaming on Twitch as well. Which, since moving over to Streamlabs, I hadn't been, just because it hadn't been set up. So if anyone is there on Twitch, it's not normally a massive audience, to be fair, on Twitch, but we are on there as well. Nick says somewhere sunny but no storms and a nice ILS. Well, Dark's requesting an RMP approach, and here's the gentleman of the hour. It would seem rude not to. Should we go back to St. Martin? Leo, no, you don't need to delete vPilot. Just shut it down and reopen it again. Make sure you're running as administrator as well. That's very, very important. Make sure you're definitely running as administrator. Right, where are we? Just past flight level 280. Direct to Jimmy. And we're going to have a look at our VFR map actually and just see what the arrival is looking like. And that actually looks pretty bang on. Perfect. That approach should bring us right into the ILS and into Washington DC. So that's nice to see. So today as well, guys, if you haven't already seen it, the next video in my real world procedures tutorial series of videos has been released, and that talks about planning your approach and descent, etc., into your destination. So go check that out afterwards if you want a little bit more background on what it is we're about to do when we start planning that. So we're only about an hour away, actually. It's only 1 hour 14 minutes. We're 14 minutes into the flight. Mr. Scoofy on Twitch, great to see you. Nice to know there's somebody there. JJ Small Picture Fly-by-Wire 320 flies left wing low all of the time. Not a fuel imbalance or flight controls not trimmed. No, I wouldn't imagine it isn't the flight controls unless you've been playing with the trim settings of those. It does sound like a dead zone issue. Make sure you've got 20% dead zone set. Oh, there's an airport down there, just above the wing. Harvest, is it possible to download VATSIM just so you can get used to it without actually using it? Do you know, I don't think it is. But what you can do is you can go, once you've got it, get yourself on the VATSIM server, just plonk yourself at a busy airport, sit in a corner, sat in a Cessna somewhere, and listen to the traffic that's flying around. I do have a video on that showing you exactly how to do that as well somewhere. Let me see if I can find that whilst we're cruising away. Let me see. So have a look for you. It was a while ago I did that video as well, so I'm going to have to go hunting for that. And given the amount of live streams we do, that's going to be a lot of wheel scrolling. fact, is it in one of the VATSIM playlists? Oh, there we go. This might be it.
Hard to discover new audiences?
Oh, there we go. Found it, and also the advert that goes with it. Let me see. So if I can pop that in the chat for you. There you go. So there's a link to a YouTube video which tells you how to literally watch the video. It explains every single step-by-step instruction of what you need to do and how to get you on. It literally is a complete beginner's guide of getting yourself set up in VATSIM. Mr. Scroofy on Twitch, surprised to hear how dead it is on Twitch compared to YouTube. Oh, funnily enough, I have no idea why, but YouTube has always been more popular, certainly for myself. Right, those engines are rolling back. We must be at cruise altitude. We heard the noise. Mac, Alt, Star and Nav. We'll just make sure that captures Alt Cruise in a second. Leo Ferdinand, yeah, so when I did that, it worked for me. Yep, we've all been there. Mr. Scoofy, do I ever get bored of the A320? God, no, not after trying to fly the CRJ properly the other night. Hell no, give me the A320 anytime. You can't really get bored if you're doing it properly. There's far too much to do. And like any aircraft, once you're sat at cruising altitude, you're pretty much home dry. Christian, would I get a sponsorship agreement if I made a Yorkshire Tea livery? Probably not. Everyone's broke at the minute, aren't they? And there we go, Mac Alt Cruise. Oh, gone back into Alt Star. Right, fly-by-wire. Did you witness that? Not quite sure what's happening. This has recently started happening. I don't know if it's fly-by-wire or whether it's since the sim update. But every so often, the altitude just changes, rather randomly. I can't imagine it being a fly-by-wire thing, but has anyone else reported that to you? So we were sitting pretty at flight level 360, and then suddenly we jumped to 370. The aircraft didn't move at all, just the altitude indicator did. So we went back into Alt Star. Yeah, Dark Fury, I'm not entirely sure I'd call that video a CRJ tutorial. Not from me anyway. I was just reading the tutorial documents that came with it, all 80 pages of it. It was pure comedy gold. That's not what I was thinking at the time I was doing it, trust me. Oh, Terry, you had that in the Bonanza last night as well. Alright, so it's definitely not a fly-by-wire issue then. Perhaps fly-by-wire may know what's occurring. Okay, so we're now at our cruising altitude. Excellent.
Ladies and gentlemen from the cockpit, just to let you know, we've now reached our cruising flight level. We were slightly delayed in taking off, so we are running a little bit behind schedule, but we'll do our best to catch up and see if we can get you to your destination on time as planned. As the cabin crew make their way around the aircraft, please make sure the aisles are clear of any items, and I invite you to please sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Thank you.
So Tim, you're still struggling with getting the landings right for the A320. Even with the custom fly-by-wire, you often float for ages. You must be doing something wrong. What you will be doing wrong, Tim, is you'll be putting too much flare in. And stick with me until the end of the stream. Well, till the landing, and I'll try and show you how it's. This is going to go wrong now. This landing, isn't it? I'll show you how it's done, but I'll basically show you what you're looking for. It's far easier to show you than it is to try and explain now whilst we're cruising away. Dark, yeah, nail on the head there. Gavin may not have enjoyed it, but the cabin members did. Oh, looking back, yeah, I guess it was a little bit humorous to those sat watching, sat pulling my hair out. And in the end, I think I threw the manual across the room because I'd had enough of that. Ah, Mr. Scoofy following on Twitch, thank you very much, sir. Hope to see you again in future streams. Just for that, would you like some food?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve our dinner menu. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. If you would like to upgrade your meal to the premium package, super stickers and super chats are available. If you are a frequent flyer with us, you can now join the channel as a member and gain extra perks to make your journey with us more enjoyable. Thank you.
So it won't be too long then, guys, before we have to start looking at our approach briefing, which does look quite nice and straightforward today, so that's good. Caesar Day Junior 123, thank you very much, sir. Great to have you on board. Make sure you grab yourself something from the food cart as it comes around as well. What's really nice about this approach is it just seemed to line up quite nicely with the ILS, so that's grand. Lots of clouds down there though, isn't there? Do you know, this is strange. I don't know if this is something that has recently been fixed, but do you all know that we had an issue where if you load it into the simulator and then for some reason you hit escape, went back to the world screen and reloaded back in, live weather didn't work, did it? The second time around, not sure why, but yeah, no, it didn't. So funnily enough, I had to do that for this stream, and live weather appears to be working, and it also has done that a couple of times as well. So is that something else that has actually been fixed in the sim update? So I wonder. Be nice if it has. Be really nice if it has. J-Hog, you're starting your descent. Where on earth are you? That's okay. Okay, well, we're in the cruise. We should probably have done our top of climb checklists. In other words, make sure the SD pages are all working correctly. Engines are fine. Bleed air is good. Electric page is displaying now as it should. Hydraulics not yet working, although I have seen that that is on its way as well from fly-by-wire. Fuel is looking good, and I'm just going to check as well over on the fuel page just there that matches up. 690, 690, 1.36. Yeah, that's great. Can you refuel in the air? I'm not going to try it, but I would imagine not, particularly as it's now greyed out, look. So that wouldn't be very realistic. A nice tanker in the air. APU obviously is off. 24 degrees in the cabin. Doors all okay. Wheels 70 degrees, so starting to cool down a little bit. And flight control computers are all working. Wonderful. A Fly-by-Wire is also on Twitch as well. Oh, fair enough. Say, we don't usually get that many viewers on Twitch. So let's have a look when we would need to have a look at starting our descent for this this flight. Sean, if it was non-IMC conditions, the river visual approach is one of the best approaches into an airport in the USA. Yeah, I have done the river visual. We're actually coming from the opposite end, so... well, having said that... I mean, we are coming in from the opposite way. So the river visual approach, for those that are unfamiliar, is essentially following this river down here. And you have to be very careful to avoid the restricted airspace just to the north of the airfield. So the river visual approach, you can check that out. I have done the river visual approach as a showcase landing. I can try and find that if anybody wants to see it, but it is on the channel. So we are 28 minutes into the flight and we are direct to Grecki. So if we come over here, have a look at our OFP. Zoom in a little bit. Where's Grecki? Direct to Grecki. There we go. Should be there 29 minutes into the flight. So we should be there at 52. So we should be there in 3 minutes. So we're actually a little bit behind schedule. Not too much, but also compared to the fuel, we've got 3.9 tons on board, and the minimum we should have at Grecki is 3.1. So we're good. We're absolutely fine. Mr. Scoofy, off you go, my friend. I shall see you again, hopefully very, very soon. So just going back to the weather thing, Christian, you said you had no real life weather the other day. Oh, that's a shame. So let's have a look at our approach chart, shall we? See where we need to be. So non-turbojets expect to cross at 11,000 feet. Turbojets expect to cross at 12,000 feet at Trish. And then Baltimore, 10,000 feet. That's not a continuous descent, is it? So it's a step descent. That burns fuel. So from the Baltimore VOR, we can use that actually, that's going to be quite useful. So the Baltimore VOR, we want to be at 10,000 feet. And then from there, we can descend at our discretion, it seems, to 4,000 feet. Well, let's have a look. So at Baltimore or Bravo Alpha Lima, we want to be at 10,000 feet. Of course, this is feet, not flight level, given the transition altitude is 18,000 feet. So from Baltimore, we're then cleared down to 4,000 feet, without air traffic control, of course. And then the platform altitude is 2,500 feet at Katrin. So 2,500 feet at Katrin. Kilo Alpha Tango Romeo November. There's the warning code. That tells me that our altitude has just jumped again. Yeah, look, see, we've gone back into Alt Star. Just need to keep an eye on that. So, what I am going to do, I'm going to use that Baltimore VOR to help plan our descent. But what I also need to check is the coding of the actual route. So let me just get rid of that. So it starts at Clipper. Have we got Clipper on here? That's strange. How come Clipper is not in the actual list? So it starts then at the Mike X-Ray Echo VOR, which is just there. Mike X-Ray Echo VOR is shown there. From there it should go to well, it actually says it goes to Katrin. So where's that? In fact, Katrin is our initial approach fix, isn't it? Well, that's strange. So it's taking us straight from the Medina VOR all the way down to that point. Right, do you know what? Can we actually add some of these waypoints in? Will it let us? So after Mike X-Ray Echo, I'd like to go to Nuggy. Will this let me add this? N-U-G-G-Y. No, it's not. Look, it's put in Nuggy. Oh, actually, no, it is. Is that right? It's actually just changed the start, hasn't it? Alright, tell you what, let's leave that in. If after Nuggy, can I go to... Let's put Trish in, shall we? Let's put Trish in. Nick, we can try that. Let me have a look. Let me return that. Erase it. So I still want the ILS 1, and it is the Clipper 2 star, and no veers. Oh, all the veers have disappeared now. So what happens if I insert that as it is? Transition. Okay, let's try transition none. Let's see what happens there. So no, still takes us direct from MXE to Katrin and Baden, in which case I need to do this quick because obviously we're getting a little bit close. Let me try popping that back in. So from there let's go to Nuggy, and then from Nuggy let's go to Trish. From Trish, 163 miles away. Is that there? Where's Copes? Is Copes on the... I've not seen that one, have I? So, Belay, Trish, Clipper, Baltimore. Well, do you know what? I don't know where that is, but we can probably get rid of it if we need to. It's actually got rid of Nuggy, hasn't it? Nuggy has disappeared. Oh, it's not going to let us do it. Okay. So if I just bring that VFR map up again, we can see that it's just going to take us straight from... Where is it? It's just taken us straight from Mike X-Ray Echo to come into DC. Tell you what we can do, as one of the waypoints is Baltimore, let's pop that in our RadNav page and we can fly to that. Old school. So if we go to RadNav, type in Bravo Alpha Lima, (178 miles away), and what's the course going to be? So we want to be inbound. In fact, it doesn't really matter. It's not actually got a heading showing, which is strange. 247 degrees. 225. That will be from Belay. Okay, we can do this. So from we'll put in a course of 225. So what we'll do then is we will fly from Medina, Mike X-Ray Echo. From there we'll fly a track heading of 247. We'll check the winds as to whether we need that. And then we will intercept the 225 radial, which will take us to Baltimore. From Baltimore, then at 10,000 feet, then I will sort of semi-vector myself in around to the ILS. So that sounds like it'll work. Famous last words. Let's check the ILS frequency is 109.9. How's that self-populated? 109.9. Yeah, that's great. That's worked. Okay. Turn VOR on. Too far away to actually pick that up at the minute. Just check the frequency 115.1. That's right. So when that comes, I want to start descending to 10,000 feet by Baltimore. Oh, I don't like it when things don't work correctly. There we can see Mike X-Ray Echo is about 90 miles away, 95 miles away. And still lots of cloud beneath us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve a selection of alcoholic drinks including wine and locally sourced ales. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. If you would like to upgrade to premium brands, super stickers and super chats are available. If you are a frequent flyer with us, you can now join the channel as a member and get extra perks to make your journey with us more enjoyable. Thank you.
Rule the sky high, is this IFR and ILS? Indeed it is, my friend. With a little bit of old school VOR thrown in for good measure. So once we pass the Mike X-Ray Echo waypoint, that's also a VOR actually, it's the Medina VOR. Once we pass that, we'll go to clear those off. We'll start tracking the Baltimore VOR, and we'll go direct there. Yep, it should be, but you never know, Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's a fair point. Oh, so has everyone had a good weekend so far? What day is it? Saturday. They all roll into one at the moment, don't they? So right, I want to be at 10,000 feet then by the time we get to Baltimore at a maximum speed of 250 knots. So let's have a look at our top of descent performance. Just sync that. Oh, that's interesting. Well, there we go. Wonder why it got a big grey box around it. So I want to be at 10,000 feet. And we'll see what our distance is when the VOR flags up. And then it'll give us a vertical speed to use and descend to. Shouldn't be too far before that VOR pops in there. Nick, was there a problem with the bearing distance in the McDo? As I'm sure you've tested it and it worked. I don't think we've got a problem now, do we? Let me just check the flight plan. 176 miles to run. So just make sure that changes, but I'm pretty sure that will do. Enter destination data. Yeah, I was just thinking that we probably need to get some weather reports. So AOC menu, weather request, we'll send that off. That'll come back in a moment. I'm just watching for this VOR information to populate. We've got about 70 miles though before I need it. Okay, Chris, have a good night, my friend. See you very soon. Rule the sky. Sometimes air traffic control give you a delayed altitude and you have to press B to reset. Delayed altimeter, do you mean? Ah, that's why you get the altimeter before starting the descent, or at least on the way down. Speaking of which, the standby should have been set to standard. We're going to roll that back up in a minute anyway. So let's get that weather. By the time we get the weather, I'm hoping this VOR information will have populated. So McDo menu, ATSU, AOC menu, and weather request. Not weather request, I've got the weather. Messages received. Meta. Oh wow, that looks a lot. Okay, print. Let's waste some ink. Yep, of course you can get the METAR from the pad, but what you can't do when getting the METAR from the pad is rip the piece of paper off, put it there, and then you've got it right next to you for entering the information into the performance page. So let me just clear that enter destination data message. So the QNH is 3052. Temperature is 14 degrees. Winds are variable at 3 knots, so I'll pop that in at 360 at 3. Transition altitude, of course, in the USA, 18,000 feet. And let's have a look at our minimum descent altitude, or radio altimeter. It is 214. 214. And there we go. That's all done. So that's the landing and weather information obtained. Everything's programmed into the flight management guidance computer. This runway then here, let's have a look. How long is the runway? Oh, why have I not got it in meters? That's annoying. Oh, that's Portland. Go away, Portland. Well, that's not Portland, that is DC. How long's the runway? Airport information, takeoff obstacle clearance, additional runway information, landing, runway 01, threshold 2. Landing distance available is 6,669. Is that correct? I would have preferred that in meters rather than feet. Basically, I just know that if it's a shorter runway, then I would apply parking brakes. Not parking brakes, auto brakes. What's happening with the altitude? Oh, we've gained a few feet. How magic. Right, what did I say that runway was? Landing distance available is 6,689 feet. 6,689 feet in meters is 2,038 meters. So that's shortish. So in that case, then, if that's the length of the runway we've got, we'll use auto brake low for that. Whenever Christian and I hear the word Imperial, I immediately think March. Mac Alt Cruise Nav. So there we go. So the landing elevation, I actually missed that. That was the whole information I wanted. Landing elevation is 11. Landing elevation is 11. And our arrival briefing we've already talked about. So basically I'm going to leave Mike X-Ray Echo on a heading of 247 degrees. We're then going to intercept the 255 radial into Baltimore, and then from there we're going to vector ourselves in. We could if we wanted. There's that altitude going nuts again, look at that. Stop the master caution sound. We could also carry on, we could leave Baltimore on the 234 radial out, and then we can look to bring ourselves in and vector ourselves around, and that'd be fine. And we want to be at 10,000 feet by the Baltimore VOR. Still waiting for that VOR to populate, of course. Yeah, I won't be doing a flight from St. Martin back to Europe, that's far too long. Christian, that's the sign of a good song or tune. If it's an earworm that you can't get rid of. Tim, how do I turn on the weather radar? How do you turn on the weather radar? That is down here, my friend. So you got weather radar 1, the center is off, or weather radar 2. 1 and 2 obviously doing the same thing. Fly-by-wire, are you still there? Have they merged the pull which was to set some of the flight deck switches into their natural place? I've just realised weather and turbulence is automatically placed there, and I also noticed when doing the pre-flight checks that the RPTG is now turned on, which it obviously wasn't before. So has that been merged? If so, fantastic. My Thigh Zone is Myth Zone. Sorry, I couldn't read the username there. Is there a way to get this overlay with the Alton speed? So the overlay is only used for streaming. I can't see it here in the simulator. I've not got that. So I don't know why we're not picking up that VOR just yet. I wouldn't have thought we're too far away from it now either, to be honest with you. How far away is it from the airport? It's probably about 16, 20... It's probably about 25 miles away from the airport. And to be fair, what are we now? About 100 miles away from the airport. So if we're 100 miles away from the airport, that VOR is around 20 miles away from the airport. That's 80 miles. So I want to look at starting that descent now. How far are we actually away from the airport? 111 miles. So if I pop in here, I want to be down at 10,000 feet in about 80 miles, so that's the descent rate of around 2,100 feet per minute. Do you know what? We'll probably look at starting the top of the descent now. We'll go for about 18,000 feet per minute, because of course if we've not got the actual star to follow, we can add some track miles as we need. I could of course just fly exactly the line that's been predicted to us, but where's the fun in that?
Ladies and gentlemen, just from the flight deck here, just let you know, shortly start descending towards our destination. The captain will soon be preparing the aircraft cabin for our arrival, so if you help, make sure the aisles are kept clear of any baggage, etc., so they can make their way around the aircraft. That would be most appreciated. Thank you, and we'll speak to you again soon.
So lots of cloud to start descending through. Doesn't look like that waypoint is going to populate. We've actually now just passed that Medina VOR, so we're going to fly 247 degrees, which is essentially the exact same heading that we were on before it just changed. So we're going to continue on that, and let's start our descent now down to flight level 10,000 feet. We'll pull that. And what was the QNH? Can't remember. 1034 or 3052. 3052. So let's pull that. Sorry, push that. 3052. That's interesting. Why is VS no longer working? Ah. How very interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to control this with open descent and speed, aren't I? That's annoying. VS is probably not working because this is technically an older build, I think. Mind you, no, it's not, because we've just had the new, we've just had all the buttons in the correct place, haven't we? So, oh, how annoying. I think fly-by-wire's disappeared as well. It may not be here anymore. That's annoying. So Peter James, you've had trouble with the VS tonight. As anybody else. So we're in open descent, so we're essentially controlling our descent rate now using the speed bug. So we'll continue on this heading. Oh, hang on, there we go. Oh, look at that. The Baltimore VOR has kicked into life. So 48 miles from that, we'll now go direct to the Baltimore VOR. Course 255. 225, sorry. That's the course that we wanted, isn't it? Yeah. No, it's not. That's complete rubbish. It's not 225, it's 247. My mind is just having a moment. It's been a while since I've flown a Cessna. It is 225. We want to turn left to intercept the 225 radial to Baltimore. Let me put that back. 225. Pop that in. There we go. Yeah, so when that moves across, we should be around here to intercept that 225 radial towards Baltimore. So I'm now just keeping an eye on that. I'm also keeping an eye on that descent rate. Blimmin' heck. Let's slow that right down. That's really annoying that vertical speeder stopped working. Oh, hang on a minute. Right. There we go. Ah, they've changed it. So you actually twist it now and then pull, rather than pulling it to activate it and then twist. Nick, yeah, you're right. 247 is the current end to intercept to 225. 225. Yeah, I just had a blank moment there. That's what happens when we become reliant upon automation too much. So I've went 30 miles out and let's just reset that. 30 miles out. We need to increase that rate of descent, I think. We also want to be at 250 knots as well, so a little bit of speed brake helps us get down there. So thrust idle, VS 250 and 10,000 feet confirmed. Just waiting for this needle to start coming to centre, and then once it does, we'll fly heading 225. We'll intercept the VOR radial. Looking at the wind as well, I'm going to fly in track FPA mode. Otherwise we're going to get blown nicely off course. I'm looking for that to start moving any time now, because it's about 20 miles away that we should intercept this. We're 24 miles away now. Having said that, with that wind, there's a good point. We've already been blown off course. I'm going to cheat. So, is the Baltimore VOR shown on here? There's the Baltimore VOR by Kilo Bravo Whiskey India. So actually, we are going to intercept it. But if we fly that heading in 247, you can see the wind blew us off by about 10 degrees. Wind showing a really nice effect just there. Tim, you can't wait till the pulling and twisting is modelled in VR as well. That's a good point. How on earth do you guys manage that? I'm not flying in VR, but have you still got to use the mouse, obviously? So we should look to intercept that radial any second now. Still waiting for this to start to move across. $14 miles out. Let's get the standby set. We're at 16,000 feet. On our way down. And the drink service, I'm afraid, guys, has well and truly stopped. So, with that, it's time to get the passenger signs on. We'll get the ice on as well in a minute before we hit this cloud layer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the seatbelt sign. Please fasten your seatbelts as soon as possible. Thank you.
Still waiting for this VFR needle to move. VOR needle to move. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologise to the delay. We appear to have lost a navigation point. No, it's there, it's on its way, and as I say, I cheated a little bit earlier using this. You can see there's the VOR, and we're going to intercept that any second now. We're probably going to fly straight over it, and as we fly over it, then we want to track a heading of 234 degrees. Let's just double check that. Yeah, there we go, 234 degrees. Oh, there we go, it's just starting to move, look. So track heading now of 225, keep us lined up with that VOR, and then as we leave that in about 3 miles, as I say, we'll fly 234 degrees.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Cockpit, we're now descending towards our destination. There's no delays ahead of us, we should have it ground very shortly. If you could please assist the cabin crew by passing the information you may have as they come round. And for your safety, make sure the seatbelts are fastened, the electrical devices are switched on, plugged into airplane mode, and the aircraft doors are also out of use. I hope you enjoyed the flight, and we'll have you coming ground safely shortly.
So we're passing the VOR now, tracking 234 degrees. And I'm now going to go back into arc mode. Cloudino571, thanks for the follow, mate. Great to see you, and hope we'll see you again for future flights. And Mr. Anders as well, who donated to the stream earlier. I'm afraid I did miss that. I apologise. Thank you very, very much for your kind donation as well to the channel. Really do appreciate that. Okay, so let me just ring in these range rings, and we can see now they were headed more or less as expected straight for the airport. We can now look to start descending. 10,000 feet, the seatbelt signs are already on. Let's get those landing lights on, and let's start to make a turn so they can intercept. Basically, we're going to do the down leg of the base, and then the final. So we'll come out of track FPA and start to make that left-hand turn. if we were going to do that correctly, what we would do is fly 16 miles away from, or about 20 miles away from the Baltimore VOR, and then we would make that left turn. But we're all right. So the airport's about 20 miles away, but that's not track miles, of course. It's not actually, it's about 15 miles away. And we can now start to descend to 4,000 feet as per the charts. So let's set 4,000 feet, and we certainly don't need to descend that fast. 1,000 feet per minute will be absolutely fine. Now we can also start to roll back the speed. I don't think there were any further speed restrictions actually. No, there weren't. So let's just have a look as well. Once we do land, here's runway 1, we'll come into land and we'll look to vacate possibly on either Golf, Mike or November. In fact, it's quite a short runway, isn't it? So November 1 is probably our exit point. So into the cloud bank, let's get those de-ices on. Clenro571 on Twitch. Thank God some normal people are flying the A320. Normal? Well, I'm not sure about that. Not some other aircraft. Are you on the custom build? I'm actually on I'm actually a QA and one of the devs for the fly-by-wire team. So I'm on a custom. I can't say custom build. I'm on a QA version. It's not released yet, just because it's got this new fuel refueling thing that we're testing this evening, which is on the dispatch fuel page just there, which seemed to work very, very nicely on the ground. So that was really, really nice. Okay, so we're going to start slowing the aircraft down. Seatbelt signs are on. Approach minimums are set. Engine mode selector. Keep that at norm, and the electronic flight bag is stowed. We're now going to activate the approach phase. We're going to have to do this manually because we didn't fly over the decel point. So activate the approach phase. That's confirmed. Enter manage mode for the speed. And if we start to slow down now, should we turn on the landing system, we can see we're 8.5 miles out. The runway is, or rather the airport is over here somewhere. And what I'll probably look to do is, oh, I can hear markers beeping away. It's going to be dark, isn't it, under the clouds in a moment? Claudino, would I say it's safe to fly the A320NX on VATSIM? Oh, absolutely. We do it all the time. I'm just doing a test flight with this new feature today, which is why I'm not on VATSIM, but normally I'm always on VATSIM. When will the refuel page be released on the custom version? To be honest, I can't imagine it being that long, just because it seems to be working absolutely fine. I don't see any reason why that's going to be delayed for much longer. Okay, TM, you are indeed here just in time for the landing, so that is spot on. So guys, if you haven't already, just while we're in the final stage of our descent, if you could do me a favour, hit the like button on the stream, that would be really appreciated. It really does help with the the channel's rankings. And as we passed 8,000 subscribers recently on YouTube, that is unbelievable. I think it was last night that that happened. So hugely thankful to each and every one of you that are a channel subscriber. You can of course look into becoming a channel member as well, get extra perks. So check that out as well. Christian, that's no marker, that's the microwave heating up your burrito. Just bring this round a little bit more. Then I can make a better base leg turn, otherwise I'm going to be a little bit cutting that fine. So we're now 12 miles away, coming down to 4,000 feet. And there's the glide slope just starting to appear. So once we're beneath that, we'll start to make that base turn. We'll get flaps 1 out. P2NX FlyByWire releasing the auto land when they are absolutely happy with everything. It's not just an auto land feature, it's an entire rewrite of the autopilot system. The auto land is just one feature that comes with, so it's actually a really big job. So that's 4,000 feet coming up. Oh, we've just had one of those little cynisms where we've climbed 400 feet while descending. Shut that off. 16 miles out, we're coming for our long final now. So let's turn ourselves around and we'll look to intercept the ILS. What's the ILS? It's about 10 degrees, isn't it? So yeah, that should be fine. No need to plonk flaps 1. Not yet. Uh, 571 on Twitch. Yeah, I have had a couple of strange things happening, but certainly nothing that will stop you using it on VATSIM. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and you'll see we use it all the time and we really don't have any problems. And a lot of the channel members also fly on VATSIM all the time as well, along with me, so we rarely have any issues. And that's it now, we've come back around. Now we should be intercepting the ILS very shortly. I'm just going to wait for the localizer to start moving across. We're 18 miles out. We've got loads of time to plan this arrival. So we're actually going to be intercepting just before... Is that Catherine? Katyn? Let's have a look. And at Katyn, 2,500 feet is the platform. So... we can now, oh, there's the localizer starting to move across now there, look. So, localizer green, Cat 3 single. And that's starting to line us up quite nicely. Nix, that's one worked really well now. Yeah, that's great. Claudino571 on Twitch. What about the co-pilot popping in and out? Is that some kind of Easter egg? Bit early for Easter. I don't know what causes that. I think some other people have had issues with that, but I think it's something to do with which camera you're actually using. Glide slope is now active as well. So we'll turn on the approach. Glide slope blue. So remember, the winds will light and variable, nothing too much to predict. It looks like we've got a very slight crosswind coming over from the left, but at 5 knots that shouldn't cause us too much issues. Oh my word, what's happening here? Glide slope captured. let's follow that all the way down, regardless of what our altitude tells us we're at. Yeah, we are on the developer build, we're not on the custom fly-by-wires, so we could have a couple of interesting moments with the rudder on touching down. We'll wait and see. Okay, so let's go flaps 1. Speed check. Yeah, flaps 1. I'm going to do this with the mouse. Make sure the slats deploy, and only the slats deploy. So now slowing down to S speed. Radio altimeter should come alive in 100 feet or so. There we go, radio altimeter is now alive. A little bit murky, isn't it? But there's our runway. Leave those de-icers on. Okay, so let's start configuring. Flaps 2. HD, good evening. Boy, you've just come at the right time, haven't you? Okay, 6 miles out. Let's get that landing gear down. So, landing gear down, auto brake confirmed, auto brake low, ground spoilers armed. Let's get the lights on and ding the cabin. And flaps 3, speed check, flaps 3, followed by flaps full. Look at that, the wind has just completely changed direction. That's done a 180. 1,000 feet. Trying to get the right view for the landing now. There we go. Autopilot 1 disengaged. I have control. So that wind now from where it was pushing us over from the left to the right, it's now doing the opposite. Here's another one of those runways that you don't really want to mess up or land too short on, is it? 500 feet, approach stable. Just watch that glide slope. We don't want to be having a long landing here. It's a shortish runway.
100 above. Minimum.
Continue. We're on the glide slope. Pappies are looking good. We can ignore the pappies now, actually. We're low enough.
100.
Slight correction to bring that centre line back on.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10. 5.
And we just didn't quite get the correction at exactly the right time there, but we were down. And reverse thrust is off. We can release the auto brakes, vacating left.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Washington. The local time is 1841. Unfortunately, the temperature is currently a very cold 0 degrees Celsius.
Of course it is.
Fahrenheit, so if you have a jacket or coat, you might want to put it on before exiting the aircraft. Please remain seated until the aircraft arrives at the gate. You are reminded to keep all electronic
So, ground spoilers
devices
disarmed. We're now well clear of the runway. Let's get the lights off.
You can now join the channel as a member
Get the ice
and
off as well.
extra perks enjoyable. Thank you for flying
Strobe lights
Fly-by-Wire.
off. Start that APU. Engine mode. Select is still normal. Let's get the weather radars off. Transponder to auto. TCAS is off. Flaps coming up. Let's not forget the flaps this time, shall we? Let's turn off the FCU lights and let's go for a taxi somewhere on the right. Claudino 571 on Twitch. Yeah, flying with 30-35 frames is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. No problems there. So we'll park over here on the right, and then I'm going to call the ground crew, and then we're going to have a look at that refueling page again, just see what it's like after landing, because I believe you can actually offload fuel as well. Let's see if we can park somewhere where the jetway doesn't intersect the flight deck this time, shall we? Oh, I wanted to try and turn the taxi light off, and instead I just zoomed out. So the GPU is already standing by and waiting, that's nice. And parking brake coming on. APU is running, so let's shut down engine 1, shut down engine 2. Passenger signs can now come off. Logbook now comes open. Close that down. And check N1, drop below 10. Let's get the beacon lights on. And let's see if we can use the ground function on here to call our jetway. Is that going to start and come to us? Try again. There it is. Tim, the landing looks so easy in your streams and videos. I think you just need practice. I can't disagree. It is purely practice, and you start to, even in the simulator, and that's testament really to how good the simulator is, you start to get a feel for what the aircraft's going to do, how the wind's going to affect it. Like there, as I was coming in, I knew the wind was going to be pushing over from the right hand side, so I went over to the right of the center line a little bit, perhaps too much, and it didn't quite drift me back onto that center line as much as I'd anticipated it to. It wasn't a disaster, obviously, but it wasn't bang on the center line. And again, I think that's just down to experience. So, external power is now coming. Let's get that external power connected. With that connected, APU can now come off. Signs are already off. And let's have a look at that fuel page then, shall we? Oh, before I have a quick look at the fuel page, we'll just thank all those passengers for flying with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck once again, I hope you enjoyed your flight with us today. On behalf of myself, Gavin, the first officer, the cabin crew, and everybody else in the chat room, we wish you a safe and journey from the airport, and we hope to see you again soon in the Easyjetsimpilot. Thank you for flying with us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Okay, so for those of you that missed the stream right at the start where we're looking at the fuel page, we'll just get the baggage handlers and that, just because I can do this now. I like clicking things. So this is what's going to be coming up very soon in the dev build and obviously the custom build. We've got the fuel page. So we can see that currently we have got 2.9 tons on board. That's what we've landed with. And this is what we actually loaded for the flight. So we actually loaded 5 tons of fuel, 5,000 kilograms of fuel. Looking at that, it would estimate it's going to take 3 minutes to load up to 5,000 kilograms, 5 tons, which from 3 tons, or just below 3 tons, is pretty accurate. That's pretty neat. And of course, you can now increase that using a slider, or if you don't want to increase it using the slider, you can type it in exactly, which is really, really neat, so you can get that exact amount that you're after. As with the IRS alignment, they've also added the little feature down here, the refuel time, so you can either do it instantly, so that changes to 0. You can either do it fast, so 1 minute, or you can pop it in real time, which is roughly about a ton per minute. So that is really, really neat. So in terms of turnaround, we now no longer need to do this. We no longer need to add the weights into the McDo. It's all going to be done here on the flight pad, and I think that's brilliant. I think that's really, really good, and it's just something else that's going to help add to the realism of the flights. So looking forward to seeing that in the custom build and the dev build very, very soon. I see no reason why not, as it appears to be working wonderfully. And of course, when you set the fuel truck loading the fuel in, then obviously the gross weight of the aircraft does increase, as we tested right at the start of the stream. The only other thing it doesn't do at the moment is automatically call the fuel truck, which you can call here, but as I said at the start of the stream, if you call that, then when the fuel truck arrives, the Microsoft loading window opens up just here, which we now no longer need to touch, so don't ever touch this window when using that. In fact, we don't need to touch this window anyway, because we load the fuel in through the McDo now, and the passenger weights payload, so we don't need to touch that. But then the moment you close that window, the fuel truck disappears. So I don't know if I can call that actually. If I do call that, is there a fuel truck running around somewhere? Oh, HD, I've been on with it. I've been on with that for a while, mate. You've clearly not been at the start of streams. Seatbelt signs always been left off and the fuel pumps left off until I put the payload of the fuel in the McDo and loaded the aircraft with the fuel, which is obviously instant now, isn't it? But it won't be once this new feature's involved. But yeah, no, we've been well up with that. I'm just waiting to see if this fuel truck is going to arrive anytime soon. The problem with the fuel truck is this over here, is the fuel truck spawns off in some far distant corner of the airfield and then has to drive all the way there, which is probably quite realistic. So let's have a look. Here comes the fuel truck. I think it's coming to us. I have done this before when testing it, and the fuel trucks come and just completely driven straight past me to go and fuel some other Phantom aircraft up. So I'm hoping it doesn't do that now. Let's have a look. Is that a GPU tug driver? Maybe. And is he coming to me? Is he going to come see me? Oh yeah, here he comes. He's going to drive straight through the straight through the bottom of the aircraft. Oh well, never mind. Lower the tyres and we'll get you out. Just disregard the fact that you're carrying flammable liquid. So this is what happens then when you call the fuel truck. You'll see in a moment that the Microsoft refueling window is going to open up. That jetway is nowhere near the door. Mind the gap. So any second now I'm expecting some refueling. Oh, there you go. Look at that. We've even got a fuel pipe. And there we go, look. So the window comes up, which is great, but we could just disregard it, close that down. But I think then the moment we disregard it, the fuel truck says, oh, well, you've not actually done anything, so I'm disappearing. He won't stay there for the full 10-minute refueling time. Well, there he goes. Cable's gone, and off he pops. Oh, the lights are coming on. So yeah, Fly-by-Wire are working on that and trying to get the fuel truck to stay there for the full reloading time. Is he just going to drive straight into my engine nacelle? No, not quite. I still wouldn't advise again driving under the... Oh no, it's just going to take out the entire airframe. All right, never mind. Just before I do disappear, I think this is quite a neat touch. You see, the lights came on. They don't all come on at the same time anymore. They come on sporadically, which I think is just a great feature of the simulator. Rather than in the past, it hit a specific sunset time in the sim and bang, all the street lights, all the office lights, all came on at exactly the same time. But they don't any longer. Peter, can we hang on, just missed that in the chat. Peter says, can you ask fly-by-wire when you put your SimBrief idea in the fly pad that it will save instead of putting it in every time you use it? I believe it does, but the problem is that we are all updating our we're all updating the versions that we're using all the time. Whenever you update the version, it doesn't save it because it hasn't got the information pre-stored there, and that is presumably stored within a file within the aircraft itself. So if I now actually load it out of this and then load it back in, then the username would be there. But of course, what I'm going to do before my next flight is I'll come out of this, I'll re-download another version, and then I will have to put the information back in. So HD, yeah, fuel is loaded in the right wing. I don't think fly-by-wire are able to do anything about that. I think that's a Microsoft issue. So okay then, guys, right, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to call that a night now. Great to show you that new little feature. Big thank you to all of you for flying with me this evening, and of course for those of you that have followed on Twitch and subscribed on YouTube. We're now over 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is fantastic, and I will keep saying it. A huge thank you to all of you. Big thank you as well to those of you that have donated through the stream, and of course a big good night, and as always a big thanks to HD and the Easyjetsimpilot channel members there on YouTube. Hope you have a great evening. I shall be back for another flight tomorrow. Good night everyone, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.